Today's video is very important because I want to talk about the first time you experience South Korea. And I know some of you probably who haven't visited Korea that you won't be able to share anything about this. But for those who have visited South Korea, be it an exchange program, tourism, okay, let's say the first time you've heard about something about South Korea, K-pop, K-drama, what was your first impression? And how was it? So, my first encounter of South Korea when I visited here, not technically visited, when I arrived here back in 2021, I can vividly remember. It was March 10, 2021. I departed from the Philippines through the Korean Airlines as part of the Global Korea Scholarship Program of Graduate Studies. So I arrived here March 10 when the Incheon International Airport doors opened. There is this sudden cold wind which came into the entrance of the um, airport. Again, remember this is the height of the pandemic, so we have to go to the quarantine facility to the hotel. When the door opened, there was this wind, cold, very cold wind, very foreign to me because I never experienced that kind of cold weather. Cold wind that gushed through the door. And mind you, I was wearing shorts, like normal casual shorts, and I was wearing a very thin jacket, thinking that the jacket I was wearing was sufficient for me to stay warm. It was the craziest day of my life because when I arrived here in South Korea, I never expected it to be that cold. At the same time, probably that time it hasn't sunk in that I am in South Korea. The dream I was fighting for to study abroad and to start restart my life abroad and do my masters to learn another language was already happening. So I was still at the state of shock and probably state of nostalgia. State of it's not that's not no it's nostalgia. High state that I can't even process the things happening that day. I went out. My parents and my family brought me to the airport. We were crying in the airport, probably saying our initial goodbyes as I go to the Manila International Airport gate, and then arriving in South Korea, being welcomed with this very cold weather. And then that was the first time I experienced the cold breeze of spring, and that was my first encounter of South Korea. Not the best, but technically a very life changing experience. Because back then, I never really know what to prepare and how to prepare for a spring or probably the transition from winter to spring weather. I never had that in the Philippines. My only idea of weather is hot and hotter with a mixture of heavy rains and floods. But I never had this notion of spring, autumn, winter, those things. So that welcoming was very rude, at the same time, very life changing. So that was my first encounter about South Korea. It was not it was not really K-pop, it was not really Korean drama, it was not really idols and such because I never had the interests for those things back in the Philippines when I was still working and studying. Actually used to despise or probably hate, no, hate is a big word. I used to find it very weird for people to enjoy something that they don't really understand. And that something I really got probably had the realization that something fun and something very interesting, that something can be very, appealing even if you don't fully understand the language. Because Korea, K-pop, Korean drama was able to transcend to different nations, especially in the Philippines, Because of the Korean music and the Korean drama. But again, during that time, I was not really a big fan of the music. I liked, probably I used to like the Korean drama that was dubbed in Tagalog or in Filipino language because of the story they share, but not necessarily the Korean music. And then I used to laugh at my classmates who were like trying to dance, enjoying the music, blah blah blah. Fast forward to like 20 years, like 15 years, I am the one here in South Korea attending Korean concerts, enjoying meet up, having the opportunities to meet Korean idols, attending free concerts of different K-pop idols. It was a full circle moment, but it was a very fun experience at the same time. Thinking about it now, and then so when I arrived here in South Korea, it was the height of the pandemic. So for 14 days, I, with the rest of the Global Career Scholarship Program 2020 Graduate Studies Program, had to stay at Marina Bay Hotel for 14 days. I got very comfortable during those 14 days because the only thing we were able to do was actually eat, sleep, stay in like a hotel, then study. That was our program, nothing else. I mean, that was very comfortable, but at the same time, I really want to go out. Like, there were moments that I would stick my hand, like, for example, there's a window. I would stick my hand out just to feel like the wind outside and probably make me feel and realize that I'm already in South Korea. Because again, I was stuck in the hotel. I can't really go out. The way for us to be able to communicate and talk was like video calls or chat. We have a group chat of all of the students who passed and who arrived in South Korea. And that was it. Like, it helped us survive for 14 days. And then after the 14 days, we have to go to our respective Korean language universities. That I think I can still vividly remember that specific experience because that's already part of my idea of what Korea is. The 14 days in the quarantine, the swab testing, they would pinch through, I mean, they will get the swab from your nose, everything. And then attending classes while we're online, trying to force yourself to wake up, take a bath. I mean, we don't have anyone to regulate our days. We're alone in our rooms. So taking a bath is on our own, like eating is on our own. I remembered. So, for example, each day we have the opportunity to eat three times. So, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And they would bring so much. When I mean so much, it's like there's a bento box. So, that's the main. They would also bring soup. And then they would also bring ramen. And then they would also bring like fruits. And then last would be the yogurt and then juice. And then water. So, that's for breakfast. Breakfast arrives at like 8 a.m., 8 to 9. And then our class starts at like 10. So I would attend classes 10, 11, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 3 hours. And then by the time it's already 12:30, they would knock on the door and like indicating that our food has arrived. So once our have arrived, we just have to get our food outside of the door. There's a waiting area there. So imagine that. After some like I haven't really finished eating the breakfast. Lunch is arriving with the same quantity: bento box, fruits, yogurt, soup, juice. And then after lunch, we don't have anything to do because the classes are like 3 hours. So after lunch, you have to, I mean, you have the option to study or just play. Like for me, I just played Mobile Legends during that time. That's why my Korean language sucks, but like that's the case. And then after 4 hours, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., they would start knock, knock. That's for dinner time. Dinner, same thing. Bento box, juice, yogurt, fruit, soup, ramen. I would just request, can you please bring an extra coffee because I drink a lot of coffee, and then extra water because I drink a lot of water. That's how it worked. So during those time, like 14 days, they would just shuffle the food and then would ask who are like cannot eat, what are our allergies are, and then what were like cannot, things that we cannot eat, something like those. So some of the students would tell that to the coordinators like, oh, I don't, please don't bring breakfast for me, I haven't eaten my dinner from last night, I have to eat it, blah blah blah. So they would not bring breakfast, but like for my case, I would instruct them to bring at least something like like fruits, extra fruit, even if don't bring the bento box, just the fruits or the yogurt. The 40, they took care of us, like they took care of us and like fed us for 14 days. So I think 100% of us came out of that quarantine experience at least 3 to 5 kilograms heavier than the first day we entered Korea. I mean, for my case, because I was able to move outside, probably go outside and exercise, nothing. I just gained weight, and that was the case. At least Korea, in my first encounter, my first experience, was really, really fun. It remained in my memory. I mean, I can vividly share it with you. So if for this video, I really want to just talk about my first experience here in South Korea, and I hope that when you experience South Korea in the future, be it as a global career scholar, or a visitor, a tourist, or probably if you're planning to work here, I hope that your first experience in South Korea will be something very, very memorable, in a good way. Something that you can share to your friends or to your family, to your kids. Like, when I first arrived in South Korea, this happened, this happened, this happened. And yeah, that's about it. Till our next video. Bye bye.